North Korea carries out large-scale artillery drill, South Korea says. North Korea's military staged a large-scale artillery drill around the Wonsan region in the country's east on Tuesday, a statement from the South Korean military said. The drills coincided with military exercises held by U.S. and South Korean navies in the Yellow Sea, off the western coast of the Korean peninsula, and as the USS Michigan, one of U.S.'s most powerful submarines, arrived in South Korea. In a separate statement, the South Korean president's office said a meeting had been held to discuss the situation. Tuesday marks the 85th anniversary of the founding of North Korea's military, a significant date in the country's calendar. On Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump said the status quo with nuclear-armed North Korea was unacceptable, calling for new sanctions on the country. "This is a real threat to the world, whether we want to talk about it or not," Trump said at a lunch for ambassadors of countries who sit on the Security Council. "North Korea is a big world problem, and it's a problem we have to finally solve. People put blindfolds on for decades and now it's time to solve the problem. North Korea conducted a big live-fire exercise on Tuesday to mark the foundation of its military as a U.S. submarine docked in South Korea in a show of force amid growing concern over the North's nuclear and missile programs. The port call by the USS Michigan came as a U.S. aircraft carrier strike group steamed toward Korean waters and as top envoys for North Korea policy from South Korea, Japan and the United States met in Tokyo. Fears have risen in recent weeks that North Korea would conduct another nuclear test or long-range missile launch in defiance of UN sanctions, perhaps on the Tuesday anniversary of the founding of its military. But instead of a nuclear test or big missile launch, North Korea deployed a large number of long-range artillery units in the region of Wonsan on its east coast for a live-fire drill, South Korea's military said. North Korea has an air base in Wonsan and missiles have also been tested there. North Korea is conducting a large-scale firing drill in Wonsan areas this afternoon, the South's Office of Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement. The South Korean military was monitoring the situation and firmly maintaining readiness, it said. The South Yonhap news agency said earlier the exercise was possibly supervised by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. North Korea's state media was defiant in a commentary marking the 85th anniversary of the foundation of the Korean People's Army, saying its military was prepared to bring to closure the history of U.S. scheming and nuclear blackmail. There is no limit to the strike power of the People's Army armed with our style of cutting-edge military equipment including various precision and miniaturized nuclear weapons and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, the official Rodong Sinmun newspaper said in a front-page editorial. North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threat is perhaps the most serious security challenge confronting U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump has vowed to prevent North Korea from being able to hit the United States with a nuclear missile and has said all options are on the table, including a military strike. He sent the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier strike group for exercises in waters off the Korean peninsula as a warning to North Korea and a show of solidarity with U.S. allies. South Korea's Navy said it was conducting a live-fire exercise with U.S. destroyers on Tuesday in waters west of the Korean peninsula and would soon join the carrier strike group approaching the region. Japan's chief cabinet secretary Yashida Suga told media that China's envoy for Korean affairs, Wu Dai, would hold talks with Japanese foreign ministry officials. A ministry source said Wu was likely to meet his Japanese counterpart, Kenji Kanasugi, on Wednesday. Kanasugi said after talks with his U.S. and South Korean counterparts that they all agreed China should take a concrete role to resolve the crisis and it could use an oil embargo as a tool to press the North. "We believe China has a very, very important role to play, said the U.S. envoy for North Korea policy, Joseph Yun. South Korea's envoy, Kim Hong-kyun, said they had also discussed how to get Russia's help to press North Korea. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is expected to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on April 27, the Kremlin said. It did not elaborate. Rare Senate briefing. Matching the flurry of diplomatic and military activity in Asia, the State Department in Washington said on Monday U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson would chair a special ministerial meeting of the UN Security Council on North Korea on Friday. Tillerson, along with Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, Director of National Intelligence Stan Coates and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Joseph Dunford, would also hold a rare briefing for the entire U.S. Senate on North Korea on Wednesday, Senate aides said. A North Korean Foreign Ministry spokesman said those meetings called by U.S. officials clearly reflected the U.S. pressure that could ignite a full-out war on the Korean peninsula. The reality of today again proves the decision to strengthen nuclear power in quality and quantity under the banner of pursuing economic development and nuclear power was the correct one, the unidentified spokesman said in a statement issued by the North's state media. On Monday, Trump called for tougher UN sanctions on the North, saying it was a global threat and a problem that we have to finally solve. The status quo in North Korea is also unacceptable, Trump told the meeting with the 15 UN Security Council ambassadors, including China and Russia, at the White House. The council must be prepared to impose additional and stronger sanctions on North Korean nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The official China Daily said on Tuesday it was time for Pyongyang and Washington to take a step back from harsh rhetoric and heed voices of reason calling for a peaceful resolution. Judging from their recent words and deeds, policymakers in Pyongyang have seriously misread the UN sanctions, which are aimed at its nuclear missile provocations, not its system or leadership, the newspaper said in an editorial. They are at once perilously overestimating their own strength and underestimating the hazards they are brewing for themselves, it said. In a phone conversation with Trump on Monday, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for all sides to exercise restraint. As the carrier group drills continued, the USS Michigan arrived in the South Korean port of Pusan on Tuesday, the U.S. Navy said. The nuclear-powered submarine is built to carry and launch ballistic missiles and Tomahawk cruise missiles. As well as his military show of force, Trump has sought to press China to do more to rein in its nuclear-armed neighbor. China, North Korea's sole major ally, has in turn been angered by Pyongyang's belligerence, as well as its nuclear and missile programs. North Korea reportedly conducts massive live-fire drill amid tensions. North Korea on Tuesday reportedly conducted a huge live-fire drill that involved up to 400 artillery pieces, which may have been supervised by the country's leader, Kim Jong-un. South Korea's Yonhap news agency, citing an unnamed government source, reported that Pyongyang appeared to have deployed a number of long-range artillery units in the region of Wonsan, which is a coastal North Korean area. South Korea's military did not confirm the report, but told the news outlet that it is firmly maintaining readiness. There was speculation that the North might carry out another nuclear or missile test. News of the live-fire drill comes after the USS Michigan, a nuclear-powered Ohio-class submarine, pulled into the South Korean port of Pusan for a health check. The Ohio-class submarine will later join the USS Vincent aircraft carrier strike group for exercises in the Sea of Japan. According to senior U.S. defense officials, the USS Vincent aircraft carrier strike group is in the Philippine Sea and waters south of Japan. When asked about the USS Michigan, Lieutenant Commander Matt Knight with U.S. Pacific Fleet told Fox News in a statement the submarine was on routine deployment. U.S. Navy ships and submarines routinely make port calls in a variety of locations, Knight said. As a matter of routine, we do not discuss future operations or the details regarding the operations of our submarines. USS Michigan is currently on a routine deployment to the Indo-Asia Pacific. Meanwhile, the entire U.S. Senate has been invited to the White House for a briefing on Wednesday about the North Korea situation. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer confirmed the upcoming briefing, for all 100 senators. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Joseph Dunford and Director of National Intelligence Stan Coates plan to provide the update to lawmakers. It is rare for the entire Senate to be invited to such a briefing. South Korea's defense ministry has said the North appears ready to conduct such strategic provocations at any time. South Korean acting Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn has instructed his military to strengthen its immediate response posture in case North Korea does something significant on the April 25th anniversary of its military. North Korea often marks significant dates by displaying military capability. On Monday, Trump also had lunch with ambassadors of countries on the UN Security Council. Ahead of the meeting, Trump called for big reforms at the UN and criticizing its handling of recent events in Syria and North Korea, but said it has tremendous potential. You just don't see the United Nations, like, solving conflicts. I think that's going to start happening now, he said.